What's up, party people, and welcome back to the Jedi and the Jar Jar episode 4.
Yeah,
we made it to
right.
4, dude.
Bro, started from the bottom, now we're here.
4 episodes. Mm-hmm. The last episode did not do great, but you know what? That's okay.
We're working on it.
We're working on it. We're building the brand. And you know what? We're the underdogs.
Buy the Jedi and the Jar Jar shirts down below in the description. Just kidding. Those don't exist.
No, they don't exist. Anyway, let's get right into it. Mm-hmm. We want to talk about a few things today. You know nothing.
I am clueless. I'm the Jar Jar.
You know absolutely nothing. You don't keep up with the news. But that's
I do keep up with the news. I just obviously do not keep up as much as you do. You have to. That's your obligation as a producer of content.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm about to hit you with some things that you don't know about.
Ooh. Some little mystery nuggets I see.
So before I get into the big thing, which is Project Luminous.
Project Luminous? That sounds like something straight out of Mission Impossible. Ethan Hunt, your mission if you choose to accept it.
Stop! Oh my gosh. All right.
The family-friendly show. Watch your language.
I said gosh.
I know. It's a joke.
What's Project Luminous? Project Luminous is something that we're going to be talking about a little bit later, but it is a big deal.
Okay.
First off, let's get into some Obi-Wan Kenobi news.
Yeah.
So, Obi-Wan Kenobi has been
officially canceled. No.
It's been delayed indefinitely. You're just trying to piss me off because last time in the comments somebody said it was funny when I got mad at you, so you're just going in on me right away.
You know that this is quality entertainment for the kids back home. What's happening?
I'm actually being triggered. Anyway, Obi-Wan Kenobi series was stop smiling at me like that. The Obi-Wan Kenobi series has been the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. People were sent home basically. It's been delayed indefinitely from what I've heard. Mm-hmm. So that what essentially that means is they're just going back and they're going to rewrite some stuff because Kathleen Kennedy was unhappy with the scripts, which I just want to say right now, I'm pretty upset about that because back in August they said that they had all the scripts ready and ready to go, and now Kathleen Kennedy is apparently not happy with them. So that's pretty frustrating, especially with the track record of like mishaps on the Star Wars projects that we've seen before. Like, I just want one Star Wars project, but besides like The Mandalorian, that doesn't have like these massive setbacks attached to it.
Yeah,
like like Rogue One, a new director being brought in to reshoot a ton of stuff from Rogue One. The Last Jedi didn't have interference really, but that was almost peculiar how little interference there was.
And look at the product that we got,
and then in The Rise of Skywalker, Colin Trevorrow was let go, which I do want to actually say that Colin Trevorrow did confirm that the leaks and the concept art are 100% true.
Well, yeah, there's no way that concept art wouldn't be
so
real.
The Duel of Fates script that we heard is real.
Yeah.
So everything that we heard. But as far as Kenobi, Ewan McGregor came out and said that it's not as big a deal as people are saying, that this is only delaying production. It's not actually going to delay the time when the series is, when it's actually going to come out. It's still unknown when the official release date of Kenobi is going to be. We're hearing that the Cassian Andor series will be released next year, actually. So it'll be... I don't really want it either. You're shaking your head.
Yeah.
I don't want it either.
Nobody does.
I don't think Cassian Andor is that interesting of a Star Wars character.
The thing I'm curious about with that whole statement from Ewan McGregor saying that the release date of Obi-Wan isn't going to be changed and that the pause on like production that they have right now isn't going to affect that. It's kind of hard to tell exactly how honest he's being, considering the fact that we have never known a release date. So you could say that without there being any consequences. We have never known, so it could absolutely be a lie. I don't think
they were supposed to film this summer. They were supposed to film June or August, I believe.
And I don't think that what is happening is honestly that big of a deal, because although the track record for Disney's Star Wars projects have had these what you consider massive failures as far as hiring the right people and getting the best content out, what is happening isn't necessarily the most uncommon thing in filmmaking. And like things like reshoots too aren't super uncommon. I know that's not currently the problem, but like the majority of movies have reshoots. It happens all the time.
That's something people don't always realize.
It's almost every big movie has reshoots and rewrites. Most Marvel movie scripts get rewrites like tons of times. Like there'll be a ton of different writers that they'll have go over the same script and do a new treatment on it. So to see them look at what they've had and then go, we're not so comfortable with this and we think we can make a better product, and kind of postponing things a little bit to make a better product, I have no problem with. I wish they did something like that with The Last Jedi, where they just kind of went forward with everything that they had right off the get-go, and that movie turned out to not be very good. The only time before they had done that with The Last Jedi was with Rogue One. And ultimately, I think that probably made it a better movie. You know, getting
all the reshoots, the Darth Vader stuff. Yeah,
for
probably.
Sure. Like, so, and they didn't have problems with that on The Force Awakens as far as anybody could tell. It seems like that went pretty smoothly. And then it probably went really smoothly with Rogue One, too, actually. And then The Last Jedi, maybe they were a little hesitant about doing some massive changes because it was still very much in its infancy as far as Disney Star Wars properties were. And maybe when they experienced those problems and didn't move forward with delaying anything, or maybe hiring a new director or new writers or anything like that, maybe they kind of regretted it because of the product they ultimately had. And going forward with these different projects, like, say, Solo, which I think also was probably in their best interest to reshoot a lot of that movie and hire a new director. And I think ultimately the product that we got was all right.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not the worst thing that this is happening. Maybe it's all for the better. And if the release date isn't actually changing and all that stuff is true, and they put out really good content, that is all in our best interest. But it's only...
I agree with that too.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit frustrating when Kathleen Kennedy says that we have scripts ready that we're happy with and we're moving forward. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So apparently also they are shortening the series. Originally it was going to be 6 episodes. Now it's going to be 4. Which
Is it really only 4?
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Neither do I. They're keeping the director. They're keeping Ewan McGregor, which I think the director probably... she directed, I believe, the episode of The Mandalorian, like The Prisoner, where they go into the like little cell block thing and they have to break the guy out.
Yeah,
and
that's
there's all those fun characters.
That's
I think
my
that's
second favorite episode.
Yeah, me too. I think it's great. And it had an awesome budget attached to it. But they're also talking about reverting it back into a feature-length film, apparently.
When they say reverting it to a feature-length film, do they mean in the context of 4 episodes, or are they going to make a Disney Plus original movie?
I'm not sure if they're going to make a Disney Plus original movie, but I believe the implication is that it would be released theatrically.
Oh, wow.
But because that's what Obi-Wan was originally supposed to be. It was supposed to be a theatrical movie that was reverted into a Disney Plus series. And now they said, okay, we have way too much filler. The story doesn't seem focused enough, so we're going to shorten it. And now it's back to the idea of, should we just make a movie? And I think that if they did that, the movie would be a massive hit if received well.
It would absolutely be a massive hit. If you made an Obi-Wan movie, I would guarantee that it would open to at least $170 million opening weekend in domestic box office.
And I think they know that.
Yeah. It's very possible that that's what they know. And as far as like,
but you don't know how much money things like The Mandalorian are making. That's
it's kind of tough to tell, and it's even kind of hard to tell how many people are watching stuff like that when it's being streamed on either Netflix or Disney Plus or anything like that. I'm not so sure about exactly what's happening, and I don't mind them shortening the length of the season or even potentially turning what they're going to make into a movie, because what I do not want is for them to make a show that overstays its welcome.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more frustrating than when a studio comes out and says, we're going to make this series and every season is going to be 13 episodes.
Yeah, like The Walking Dead.
Like The Walking Dead, I think those are like 16 episodes each, and it's like just loaded with filler. What I want is for them to come up with a story and cater the length of the show or the movie to the story itself.
So you want it to be different from The Mandalorian. You don't want it to be like these one-off fun episodes where it's like there's a new adventure, which works for The Mandalorian.
Yeah. What I want is for them to tell their story and not try to capitalize on that story as much as possible in a way that is detrimental to the story.
Right.
So 4 episodes, I'm absolutely fine with. It's like... when they took the Hateful Eight movie that Quentin Tarantino directed and put a Netflix-like series, and it's like a director's cut, but they've released it in like 4 episodes.
Yeah.
I could see that kind of being a thing with the Obi-Wan series if that's what they were to do. And I think that Disney Plus would honestly be an interesting place to put it as opposed to a theatrical release, just for finding out how this platform could really cater to these big franchises and stuff, and like just kind of testing the waters with it because it's still pretty new. But yeah, I mean, if they make it into a movie, I wouldn't mind that. I think everybody would be on board with an Obi-Wan movie. Everybody has been actually on board with an Obi-Wan movie ever since they were talking about these anthology movies in between the Skywalker
Obi-Wan
movies.
was like number one.
Yeah, it was like number one, and then there was like Boba Fett, which didn't happen, but The Mandalorian, I think, very properly took that place. But yeah, I mean, as long as they're not going to just throw a 10-episode arc of a boring Obi-Wan on Tatooine series that is poorly written and directed, I don't want that. So whatever they give us, I'll probably be happy with, because I do think that they are looking at this in a smart way, and if they're honestly concerned about that, and they're going to make the effort to be like, you know what, maybe Disney Plus isn't the place for this. As long as they are focusing on making a good thing, then I think we all win.
Yeah. Moving on, because we have a lot of news to unpack.
Okay.
So,
we're about 10 minutes, 11 minutes into this.
Yeah, we probably won't get into everything then, actually.
What else is there?
The big thing is that, this is a rumor, is that the reason that they're rewriting the Obi-Wan Kenobi series is that it was too similar to the plot of The Mandalorian. It involved a rogue Jedi. They were going to make Asherad Het, my favorite Jedi that turned Sith Lord in the comic books. Asherad Het, Darth Krayt. They were going to make him the main antagonist, and it was going to focus around Asherad Het as a Tusken Raider now, trying to hunt down Luke Skywalker in fear that it would eventually lead Palpatine and Darth Vader to the planet of Tatooine.
Yeah.
And him trying to kill Luke Skywalker because he's gone into self-preservation mode, and he doesn't want the Sith Lords there because he knows that he won't stand a chance.
Yeah.
And it would be like a few episode arc of like Obi-Wan trying to hide Luke away from Asherad Het
basically
as like
making
a young child.
the Luke, the baby Yoda of the series.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
see
why
that.
they rewrote. That's why apparently, according to the leaks, that they're rewriting it. Which I love the idea of this rogue new dark Jedi hunting down Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
And I think that they should keep that. And I hope that they do. But I do see the similarities, and I think that rewrites could help.
Yeah, a very similar story to that would be when they made Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok had a lot of similarities as far as story beats go to Empire Strikes Back. And there was going to be this massive reveal at the end of Thor Ragnarok that Hela was Thor's sister. And they were like, that's basically Darth Vader telling Luke that he's his father. And because of that, they went and they made a bunch of rewrites and they reworked the script and then ultimately came out with Thor Ragnarok, which is...
Where it's like she's his sister right away.
Right away. And, there was definitely a lot of other story changes. That movie went through a lot, but ultimately became a better film probably than it started as. And if that's the case for this, then I think that would be cool. I love the idea of Darth Krayt being the antagonist.
Yeah. He would be Asherad Het.
Yeah, he'd be Asherad Het, but having that character in the Obi-Wan series, I think would be awesome.
Yeah.
This is actually the first I've heard of that, so I would love to see that. And if there's going to be similarities,
like an Order 66 survivor that's gone to the dark side a little bit, it's so cool.
I think that's so cool. I don't think there's a big issue as far as having similarities in these franchises go. If you look at all the Star Wars movies, there's similarities in every single one of them. Obviously, you don't want it to be a carbon copy. Rewrites are probably a good thing in that case. But as far as tone goes, I don't think it's the world's worst problem if they are similar in some way. As long as they're not carbon copies of plots,
right,
then that should be fine.
So getting into Project Luminous a little bit. Project Luminous, their official release is February 24th. And I think the big thing is that a lot of people are speculating this year. February 24th. It's the announcement of Project Luminous.
Okay.
It's not Project Luminous.
Okay.
Anyway, so the big theory right now is that it's a big announcement for Lucasfilm where they're going to officially announce High Republic stuff. They're probably going to announce the sequel to Star Wars Rebels, which we have another rumor I want to talk about.
Okay.
And then they're going to announce like a huge multimedia Star Wars thing that they will call Project Luminous. I'm not exactly the greater details. Apparently they're going to announce a sequel to Fallen Order called Jedi Fallen Hope, and various other novels, and maybe even like another Star Wars movie beyond the High Republic stuff. So that's the big theory with Project Luminous. But the biggest thing with Star Wars Project Luminous that I want to talk about now is a rumor that the Rebels sequel, that the main character will actually be Luke Skywalker. And that they're trying to get Mark Hamill to come back and voice a younger Luke Skywalker and have Ahsoka and Sabine play larger roles in that, but sort of detail the establishment of Luke Skywalker's order and him being the last Jedi still and dealing with that up until the time of probably the Kylo Ren comic book.
Yeah.
And like showing us that era that hasn't been explored. And you can do that with Mark Hamill in animated form.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
then he doesn't have to like be out there and act, and they don't have to de-age and spend all that money on it. He can just change his voice to sound a little bit younger. And I think that sounds amazing.
I absolutely love that idea. That is something I've actually wanted for such a long time. Our whole last podcast, we were talking about the Clone Wars and the new trailer and stuff. And for the longest time, I've wanted a Clone Wars type show that takes place more around original trilogy timeline stuff and
not Rebels.
Yeah, not Rebels, but like exploring the characters of like Luke Skywalker a little further, because I mean, obviously this stuff has been explored like a lot throughout other forms of different mediums of entertainment, such as comic books and even video games, stuff like that. But a really cool animated series where you could have a bunch of seasons.
With Luke and Ahsoka?
And Mark Hamill would absolutely come back, I think, to do that. Because Mark Hamill does have, I think, a deep love for the character.
Ownership of Luke Skywalker.
Absolutely. And you know what? We all know that Luke Skywalker... Or I just actually called him Luke Skywalker. We all know that Mark Hamill wasn't exactly satisfied with what they did with his character. Yeah. Especially in The Last Jedi. So I don't think that it's far out of the realm of possibility that he would look at this almost as like a redemption, to really explore that character deeper than they have before, give him a lot of like new character development, story arcs and stuff like that. Having Ahsoka be a part of it too would be really cool. And then they look for Ezra,
yeah.
And I think that'd be awesome. It's a perfect way to tie all those characters together and really finish that story. So, yeah, I mean, if that is the case, I am very on board with that idea.
So the Project Luminous thing, again, sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, Mandalorian potentially announcement of a season 3.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan Kenobi series back on track is another rumor. The Luke Skywalker sequel to Rebels, and then High Republic official movie announcement.
Yeah.
And if all of that happens, or if 2 out of all of that happens, I have so much more faith in Star Wars moving forward.
These all sound so good.
I know. So,
is there? I'm pretty sure there's probably not some sort of big convention coming up, right? Like it's not time for D23 or anything.
No,
like that, right?
I don't believe
so. Is it going to be, you think, like a just random solo big announcement, or do you think it's going to just kind of come out online? You remember?
I'm not sure.
The way I look at it is like,
they are building it up, though. They set like a hype date for it.
So remember when Marvel announced Phase 3 and Kevin Feige had his own little press convention thing in a theater, and they had all these different people from YouTube channels or magazines and stuff to report on it, and then he went like movie by movie and announced the entire slate of Phase 3. I can imagine that they could do something similar to that with this, and I think it is important. There is a bit of like a spectacle to when you announce projects like this, and what you do not want to do is to just have the information get online. You do want it to be a moment as opposed to just bland information, because it does really affect the way that people look at your franchise. And I remember when they announced Phase 3 of Marvel, there was a very similar thing that happened with DC, where they just kind of had movie titles online out of nowhere, and it wasn't even like there wasn't logos or anything. It was just like black and white text, and it does portray a lack of confidence. And I think that what Disney needs to do is to get out there and be like, hey, we've finished this chapter, and we know what you like and we know what you don't like. Phase 2 of Star Wars. We know that you want more Mandalorian. Everybody loves Mandalorian. And if you don't think that there's already a season 3 thought in these people's heads, of course there's going to be a third season of The Mandalorian. The first one was a massive success. They greenlit the second season before the first one ever came out because they were that confident in the franchise. So, of course, we're going to get a third season.
And the story of the second season is so epic now with the introduction of the Darksaber.
Yeah,
and we're going to figure out more about
the
Baby
character
Yoda.
of Moff Gideon is already so interesting to me. And, like, he's so cool. He's cool visually.
He's terrifying.
He's absolutely terrifying. And the actor they got that played Gus in Breaking Bad is going to be so amazing. And, like...
And for him to come into his own as the main villain.
It's going to be awesome.
Gamorrean guards in season 2.
It's going to be so cool. To get out there and be like, we're giving you a new Star Wars film franchise with this High Republic stuff. Like, this can be very exciting for people and really probably win over a lot of fans. Imagine if they did an event where they showed you concept art of exactly what they were working out. Like, imagine if they showed you concept art of a younger Yoda for the High Republic stuff. And
which I
maybe announced actors or directors or something like that.
The High Republic was hinted at again yesterday in a comic book.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much...
Which comic book was it?
I think it was Star Wars Annual number 2. I think Finn mentions it or something. He says something like the unknown regions were even more treacherous back in the High Republic era.
Yeah.
There were little like beacons of hope out there, but it was super unexplored, and they had no idea exactly what lay beyond the regions of like what we know, and it was so dangerous to travel out there. So that's the line.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. And we all know that when it comes to these franchises, they'll always drop little hints in other different mediums of entertainment to build interest to certain ideas. You see it all the time in comic books with comic book franchises and all that.
So yeah, now we've had 2 name drops of High Republic stuff.
Yeah, that's really cool. It'll be exciting to see when more information really comes out about all this stuff. And I mean, I can't even imagine what it'll be like when like the first trailer drops.
Yeah,
it'll be cool to know the release dates.
It'll be as big as The Force Awakens, I predict.
It could be for sure. I mean, it'll be a very similar, I think, feeling to when The Force Awakens came out, because it'll be.
When it come out.
When it come out. Okay. I'm the Jar Jar for a reason. But when The Force Awakens came out, it was like, oh, we're seeing that part of Star Wars we haven't seen in a long time. And when the High Republic comes out, High Republic movies come out, geez. I don't know why I can't talk. It'll be a similar feeling. We haven't seen the Jedi Temple in a long time. And Coruscant. And when we see that stuff again, I think it will be warm feelings of nostalgia in a way that's very similar.
It'll just be the next generation.
It'll just be the next generations, exactly. It'll be the 20 and 30-year-olds as opposed to the 40 and 50-year-olds. And, I mean, obviously you and I and a lot of people our age were very much excited for The Force Awakens like crazy. Star Wars doesn't have an age limit or a specific demographic. Everybody...
Which is why it's so successful.
Yeah, exactly.
Except for people in China, they hate Star Wars.
They hate Star Wars. These Chinese people need to get back on the Star Wars train.
They really do. They hate it.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about talking about these people. They're not listening.
Also, they just caught a major virus. So
they did. There's like 40 dead people in China now. They're building hospitals like in 10 days, like massive hospitals, and they're like in 10 days we're going to have a new hospital.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Anyway,
but that's not the point of this conversation.
No. We have one little last piece of news. What's our time?
23 minutes. So we're doing good.
We're going to talk about this for the rest of the time.
Okay, what is it?
George Lucas apparently has said that he will return to Star Wars if he gets full creative control over the project.
I don't see that as necessarily a good or a bad thing. I don't see it as ever happening, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Because anybody could say anything. And for George Lucas to say, of course I would return to Star Wars, it is my brainchild, if you will. For him to be like, yeah, if you let me make what I want to make, I'll make it. That's saying something, but that's not news. That's not anybody going, we have George Lucas attached to this project. You know? Yeah. I would be interested if George Lucas came on and, say, directed or wrote scripts for the Rebel sequel, something like that, give him an episode or two. Like, I don't think that would be a bad thing, and I don't think that he wouldn't have any interest in that, you know? Especially if it's those characters. I think he is probably
He
very
was
affectionate.
super involved in the Clone Wars.
Yeah,
he had to
exactly.
give an okay on pretty much everything in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, I don't doubt that in the slightest.
That's why
I'm
the
sure he
whole
was super attached.
the Dave Filoni, George Lucas thing. George Lucas was like, Ahsoka dies at Order 66. Dave, she dies. Like that's how this goes down. And then Dave Filoni was like, I don't think she should die. And then George Lucas was like, she's gonna die.
Listen,
And then they came to the conclusion that it's like if she got exiled from the Jedi Order, that would be okay.
George Lucas is a genius. And he also has terrible ideas. I'm not saying Ahsoka's death is a terrible idea, but what I'm saying is Indiana Jones 3 taking place in a haunted house is a terrible idea. And that's a George Lucas idea. Now, I want George Lucas attached to Star Wars in some way. I think that he obviously is some sort of mastermind when it comes to like these giant world building ideas of his. And at the end of the day, no matter what he makes, if it's the greatest thing in the world or if it's really not great in some sort of way, it'll always be interesting. And it would have been interesting to see his ideas as far as a sequel trilogy to the original trilogy would have been. I'm not going to say that it would necessarily be the best directed trilogy ever if he were attached as a writer and a director, but it would definitely be something interesting, maybe potentially more interesting than what we got. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think would be a good thing to attach him to if he were to be attached to something? Would you want him to have a movie?
No.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Not if he has no restrictions. I wouldn't want him to have a movie. But I think like a big collaborative effort like Clone Wars with George Lucas would be amazing.
Yeah.
If it's not just like... Because you can't with Star Wars just let anybody have free reign. I'm sure Marvel says all the time, oh, we let our directors do whatever they want. But that's not true.
It can't be true. There's too
Look
much
at
to
Scott
take care of.
Derrickson. Scott Derrickson wanted to make a horror movie of Doctor Strange 2, and he's no longer attached to Doctor Strange 2.
Yeah.
Or the Ant-Man originals director. Oh, shoot.
Peyton Reed.
Peyton.
Are you talking about Edgar Wright?
Yeah, Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright attached to Ant-Man. They just...
Yeah.
They have things. They have parameters.
Yeah, and I mean...
And Star Wars and Marvel are not the same property by any means, but I think that Star Wars can learn a lot from Marvel.
Yeah, I think
Star Wars has the potential to be much bigger than Marvel.
Yeah, especially now, because it seems like Marvel's definitely taken like a back seat, just for the moment at least, because they had their big story that they told, and now it's like they're going to work on new stories, and they're going to do their Disney Plus adventures too. But I think that Marvel is obviously a great franchise to compare other franchises to, because they've clearly made it work in a way that no other franchise has ever. You know, to put out 23 whatever it is movies and have them all be as successful as they were and have people resonate as much as they have is important. And I think that Star Wars does have a lot to learn from Marvel, especially when it comes to the big plan, because that is what Star Wars has failed at in recent history more than anything.
Yeah.
So
they've had great individual projects, but again, the whole overarching like idea and thing that you're building towards has been lacking.
Yeah, everybody has made comments about how this franchise needs a Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige is going to be attached to some of these properties in the future, and there's a reason for it, and it's because he knows what he's doing. And you and I have talked endlessly about how we think that Jon Favreau might be the man for that if they were ever going to explore that idea. Because he clearly cares and he's clearly talented. He's worked with Kevin Feige and has seen how these Marvel movies are done. So he's definitely experienced in a way that would, make sense to have him attached to a project of that capacity. But anyway, that's not the point of what we're talking about. George Lucas being attached to anything I think would be interesting. It's just... It's him being demanding that he has complete creative control is the bad part.
Yeah.
Because I would love to see him co-direct a movie. You know what I mean? I don't know who they could attach him to. But even like The Last Jedi. Imagine it was a tag team effort between J.J. Abrams and George Lucas. Imagine if they said, for the last Star Wars movie in the saga, we're going to have George Lucas co-direct this one.
You mean The Rise of Skywalker?
Oh, yeah. Is that what did I say?
The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. If they said, George Lucas is the man that started this, and we're going to have him partially end it, I think that would have been kind of interesting. It might have been more interesting than what we got. I like the Rise of Skywalker. I don't hate it. It's not the greatest movie ever, but, I I think it would be something worth watching, you know?
Absolutely.
The stupendous wave is currently holding his cat right now.
She crawled in my lap.
It's so cute.
Her name's Kyla, after Kylo Ren. But I couldn't name her Kylo because she's a girl. She's got a little. She's all black except for one little white patch on her, and she has yellow
Sith
eyes, yellow Sith eyes, and I love her so much. Anyway, I think that about does it, y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching the 4th episode of The Jedi and the Jar Jar. This one is not quite as back and forth as the last one. Anthony talked a lot, but there's no problem with that. He's a smart guy. He is a smart guy.
I'm a movie man.
You're a movie man.
You know?
Absolutely. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for supporting the Jedi and the Jar Jar. It means the world to us. We're going to continue to do this every week, and we'll see how it goes. We love you all. May the Force be with you, and have a great day.